What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Friday, February 11th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 7-game slate here tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. So LaMelo Ball is looking like a pretty good stud here, especially on FanDuel, but I'm gonna save some salary here at the point guard position. I like Jordan Clarkson from the Utah Jazz playing the Orlando Magic, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Jordan Clarkson has averaged 25.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 27 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 26.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 5,200 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. And Jordan Clarkson scored 20 and 23 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 28 and 22 minutes. But I like that he played 28 minutes last game. And Jordan Clarkson has scored 17, 35, and 33 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Magic. So I like Jordan Clarkson here versus the Orlando Magic. But I do really like LaMelo Ball on FanDuel, who's only 8,400 DraftKings salary, scored 60 fantasy points last game, played 37 minutes, and he's averaging 44.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. So he's projected at 45.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. And he's got a pretty good track record the past couple of games versus the Pistons. So I like LaMelo Ball here versus the Detroit Pistons. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Kelly Oubre Jr. from the Charlotte Hornets playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 5th worst defense overall. They give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards, also eligible at the small forward position. Kelly Oubre Jr. has averaged 27.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate, but he's projected at 29.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel, and Kelly Oubre Jr. has scored 28, 32, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games. But I like this pick because he's played 36, 37, and 29 minutes in the last 3 games. So if I can get Kelly Oubre Jr. for 30 plus minutes in a great matchup, then I think I'll take that. And he scored 46, 30, 28, and 42 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Pistons. So I like Kelly Oubre Jr. here versus the Detroit Pistons. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Kevin Herter from the Atlanta Hawks playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the 7th worst defense overall. They give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards, also eligible at the shooting guard position. Kevin Herter has averaged 21.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 23.6 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. He's only $4,200 DraftKings salary. Now he has $1,300 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. He scored 25, 18, and 17 fantasy points in his last 3 games. But I like this pick because he's playing a lot of minutes. He played 31, 33, and 26 minutes in the last 3 games. So I like Kevin Herter as a value play on DraftKings here versus the San Antonio Spurs. And on the other side of the ball, you got a value play in Devin Vassell from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. And Devin Vassell has averaged 22.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 25 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 23.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.9 times value. He's only $4,000 DraftKings salary, $900 more on FanDuel. He scored 31, 15, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 26, and 22 minutes. So he's got 30 plus fantasy point upside for only $4K DraftKings salary in a great matchup. So I like Devin Vassell here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Jeremiah Grant from the Detroit Pistons playing the Charlotte Hornets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall. They give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jeremiah Grant has averaged 32.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 31.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $6,000 DraftKings salary, and he's $800 less on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites, but I love that FanDuel price. Jeremiah Grant has scored 36, 24, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 30, and 31 minutes. He scored 49 fantasy points in his last game versus the Hornets. So I like Jeremiah Grant, especially on FanDuel here versus the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, moving on to the center position. So we gave you a bunch of value plays in this video. So I like Karl Anthony Towns from the Minnesota Timberwolves playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing centers. Karl Anthony Towns has averaged 46.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 45.7 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score close to 50 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $9,800 DraftKings salary, $200 less on FanDuel, and he scored 43, 40, and 45 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 28, and 37 minutes. But I like this pick because he's got great team history versus the Bulls. Scored 59, 47, 52, and 52 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Bulls. So I like Karl Anthony Towns here versus the Chicago Bulls. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.